Hello, everyone. This is the TCMR podcast. I am your main host, Teo. I'm going to try to be funny, but most of the time I'm going to get really mad at our topics, and I'm going to try to keep my cool. I will pass it on to my other co-host.
Hello, I'm RJ, the other co-host, and today we will be discussing the topic of whether or not RDR2 should have won Game of the Year. What do you think, Tam?
I personally think that God of War deserved to win Game of the Year. Just because what is a guy on a horse gonna do against a big buff dude that has a big axe that is very insane? And I'm just saying, Kratos could one punch that entire universe, like he's Saitama, and he would absolutely destroy everyone. Why wouldn't you prefer that over some random cowboy that shoots people and just gets randabouties?
So here's what I have against that, Taylor. Here's what I have against that.
Okay.
I understand your thoughts on the fact that yes, Kratos is a god, and yes, he would one-shot the Red Dead Redemption 2 universe.
Absolutely, he would.
He completely would. There's no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
the reason why I feel as though RDR2 should have won Game of the Year is for the realism and the open world itself. So the problem I have with God of War 2018 is that it's basically straightforward. You get what I'm saying? Basically straightforward, almost like levels. Which, don't get me wrong, games in that genre can be great. But when you introduce it to an open world with a great story, it really mixes well together. And in that factor, I feel as though Red Dead Redemption 2 is over God of War 2018, and that Game Awards just chose to pick favorites for no reason. When really, if you look at the realism of Red Dead Redemption 2 and the massive open world it generates, the characters, the story building, it shouldn't have. God of War didn't have a chance, but IGN, companies like that, all of this stuff that rate games, I feel like chose properly and really were just fan favoriting to PlayStation. What do you think about that, Taya?
I think that is fairly wrong. First of all, God of War is such a better game. I get that Red Dead Redemption has multiplayer and it has an alright story, but there's just so much that you have to do in multiple sections. You have to go to this town, you have to go to that one, and then you get to choose your own choices. God of War has just a straight path where you can get some stuff, but it's very straight in the story. And I personally prefer games like that because of the way that it builds the characters up. Because I feel like there's not as much character building in Red Dead Redemption as there is in God of War. Also, even though that you say that there's favoritism, there was so many more streams and videos of God of War than there was Red Dead Redemption, because most people that just played Red Dead Redemption either didn't stream it at all, or they just played it and they made some really cringy video that was just "Hi guys, I'm gonna skin this alligator," and then they just don't skin the alligator. Also, God of War is just a better game in my opinion, because you get to play as Atreus. You get to have fun with it. Atreus is I get that he's a terrible character, but he's kind of fun when you just see his dad walk up and tell him, "Hey, you're stupid." And that's honestly hilarious to me. What do you think about that?
Well, on that last part you said there, you could also offer that up to John Marston and the relationship between John Marston and Arthur Morgan. You could argue that Arthur Morgan does the similar thing to John Marston at the beginning. Hey, you're stupid, this, and this. But with the straight line thing, I get what you're trying to say there. With the straight line story and game itself, it brings you through the whole thing one by one, and each and every section, it completes that section by itself, and you don't have to do multiple things. So I understand that. A good example of that would probably be Half-Life 2 or just the Half-Life series in general. But here's what I have against that. I have the streaming I don't like because I feel like that's wrong. I'll have to check statistics about that. But also, not just the streaming, but the character building or the arcs of the characters. I have to argue that Arthur Morgan goes through way more of an arc than Kratos does in God of War 2018. And here's why. You have this brutal, almost lonesome outlaw in a way that's part of this family, but as you go through, he gets TB, so many gang members die, and it starts emotionally breaks him down. It shows just it shows that Dutch isn't really the good guy he really thought it was, and that even though he did everything for honor, he starts to realize that maybe you shouldn't be giving honor to the wrong thing, but to the right thing. And in the very end of the story, Arthur Morgan shows his redemption, depending on which route you go through, of course, but shows your redemption and how, in the end, let me try to word this correctly, how in the end, he gives John a second chance to be a family man, to have his family live in peace. He has the redemption that was needed for when the gang ended. And that's what I have. What do you think about that?
Okay,
Okay?
I'm just gonna comment on the fact that you said when the ended and not game, just because.
Gang. I said gang. I swear to God I said gang.
No, you said gay. That's for sure. You said.
Anyways, keep going.
Okay. So I get what you mean that Arthur like has more of a diverse part of it, and he has more like build up to it. But honestly, God of War 2018, it really builds up to the current game of God of War Ragnarok, and it really shows you how Kratos went from this brutal Spartan to more of a father figure, because he's still figuring out how to be an actual father in this game. And then it really builds up to what Ragnarok is. So I feel like this was the beginning, like, stepping stone of Kratos being like, all right, I have a child now. I have to take care of him, but I also can't just be a lonesome psychopath anymore. That's where I have to disagree with you on the part where, even though that Arthur is like very, very like psychopathic and everything, his character building is just him trying to get his family back. Meanwhile, Kratos, he is losing his wife, but he has his son still, and his son is very valuable to him, so he's trying to protect him. And I feel like that's not only better like story, but like as you were saying with the character building part, I feel like it's like more characterizing Kratos as a lonesome big brute to more of a father figure in Atreus' life, even though that he has like multiple mental issues. He's really messed up. He's trying to protect from Thor, which I really wish that they actually showed him in 2018 instead of Ragnarok. That's like my only not positive thing about it, is that they didn't show him in the first game, like maybe at the end. But otherwise, besides that, I feel like God of War 2018 is like way better not only in the graphics are phenomenal. I feel like they're way better than Red Dead. And like honestly, like the voice acting is on point. I've heard some Red Redemption in like voice acting, and it doesn't hit as hard as like some Kratos lines or like any other character. Like it doesn't hit as hard. What do you think about that?
So first things first, I'm gonna have to correct you on something that you said, which in all fairness I did make a mistake on. By family I meant gang. You understand that?
Yeah, I don't really know that much about Red Dead Redemption, so like to be honest with you,
In a
that's family. So my fault.
so
Gang.
in a I feel like we should move on to the game's world building now.
Okay.
Focus a little more on that. So
Okay.
in my case, the world building of Red Dead Redemption 2 is almost perfect. Every NPC and animal has their own day-to-day life, which
Okay.
I found incredible. But not just that, but you encounter so many random interactions, and it just makes the game feel real. It makes it feel almost like real life. And just to cope with the world building, you also have the graphics. And here's where I also have to disagree with you. The graphics of Red Dead Redemption 2 can be stunning. It can look like literally you get a perfect moment in the game. It looks almost like real life. Where how with God of War 2018, don't get me wrong, their graphics they were on point for 2018, but they don't show as much complexity as Red Dead Redemption 2. What do you got about that?
Okay. I can agree with you on the complexity, but you got to remember that God of War is fiction and Red Dead Redemption is more of a like Western style thing. So, of course, Red Dead is going to look more realistic, but God of War, it may not look as realistic, but it looks dope as hell when you see like whatever monster Kratos is fighting and like you just see that fight and like you're fighting in the game and then like you just feel more energy. Otherwise, like when like you have like a bounty or like something like that in like Red Dead, you get more like it's like it feels less accomplishing in my opinion, but you can disagree with that. And I feel like not only that like God of War, like the like entire layout of the game, it may not like be as realistic, but like it's pretty close in my honest opinion because you see like you walk through a forest and then like all of a sudden, oh no, like a wolf shows up or something like that. And then you have to fight this wolf. Or you can just run away from it, but like why would you run away from a wolf? It's not Elden Ring. It's not like the hardest game like right there. But like I feel like as you're saying world building, like the only cool thing about Red Dead is that there's a stupid UFO, a guy who knows how to build robots in a lab, and that's like kind of boring. Meanwhile, like you're just walking around in God of War and you like have to fight this dragon, you have to fight this. Like there's this like there's way more like cooler bosses. Like Red Dead's more about like actual characters. Meanwhile, like God of War, you don't really have to care about the characters when you're fighting a dope ass monster. What do you think?
So getting a bounty obviously isn't as enthusiastic as fighting a boss or so and so whatever you said.
Yep.
My problem though is they're both fiction.
Well, okay. Cowboys were a real thing, and
But
like,
so were Spartans.
well, like, okay. So, like, I guess, but like, Kratos is a god of some sort.
Mhm.
He's not an actual Spartan. He used to be, but like in 2018, he's getting off of his curse of like of everything. Like he is trying his best. It's not him like it's not as it's like more fictional than Red Dead Redemption because Red Dead Redemption there were actual cowboys in real life. And I get that you mean like oh yeah, there were actual Spartans in real life, but that's more of like the first like original games and this one's more about like how it's Vikings, which Vikings do exist or did, but they're not like to the level of Kratos. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm not so sure about that one. I think we should come back to that. But since we are talking about two fighting games, I think we should move on to the weapons.
Okay, all right. But
So in my case, you got the classics. You got your Colt Navy revolver, uh Lancaster repeater, a bunch of weapons. You got a catalog of over I think 30 weapons, which is all weapons. Not only do they look realistic, fire realistic, but all help you, which is obviously what a weapon does. But in my case, I feel like Red Dead Redemption's two weapons um are far better than God of War's. But I will say, for God of War, they have the better melees,
all right,
obviously.
all right.
But for Red Dead Redemption 2, they have a better long ranged environment, if you get what I'm trying to say there.
Kinda, yeah.
And I feel like they add more to the game, and and the game really gets helped off of the weapons. But you could also argue that God of War also gets helped majorly by the weapons too.
Okay,
But that's really what I have to say about the weapons, and that's my input. Obviously, there's a lot more weapons, but I can't cover them all because I don't remember them all. But those are just a few I could name off the top of my head.
okay, all right. Was
So,
that
what
it?
would you have
Is
to
that
say?
it on your side?
That's all I have to say. What would you have to say?
Um, okay. What is a gun gonna do against a guy with an axe that can come back to him like he's Thor? Just tell me. Just tell me real quick. Like how is a axe that is basically Mjolnir, but like way better gonna be like a gun? Because that
So, here's where I got to conflict with that real quick and interrupt you, which I'm sorry.
yeah.
But I'm not talking about how the weapon would damage others.
Okay.
I'm talking about just the weapon
Are you talking
catalog in
about like the
general
looks of
and how
it?
it defines the game.
So you're talking about how it looks and it defines the game?
Yeah, and how it defines the game and what it adds to it.
Okay, I gotcha. So Kratos' axe, it's dope. It like is like probably his main weapon. Well, it is, and it's like it's one of my favorite weapons because it's like this big lumberjack dude with like an axe, and like that axe is not only dope, it's just like it can go far. He can throw it. Like he can also like go with melee and like not only that, he could also use his fists. As I know that you said that God of War has better melee, but I'm just going to add to that. Kratos can use his fists. He can use his axe. He like his axe. not only looks better than your average gun in Red Dead Redemption 2, because I personally don't like the look of guns. I've always been a melee guy myself, or a bow and arrow, and I will go after that in a little bit. But to be honest, like Kratos, like his axe not only contributes to the story a lot, like you have to use it for puzzles, you have to use it for like boss battles, you have to use it for like basic quests in the game. You can upgrade it like I don't know the upgrading system in Red Dead, but honestly, I really like the way that you can upgrade it because it just means that you have to like get a certain amount of materials or XP, and then you just gotta like it's the reason why I like that is because like I really like Elden Ring. I really like the Dark Souls stuff. So it's like it reminds me of a Dark Souls setting, and I really find that home appealing to me. So because like God of War is like Dark Souls to me, it's like really like personally, it's a preference to me because it not only feels hard, it is like a better mechanic in my opinion. Because like in Red Dead, you just shoot a gun at like very fast speeds, and it kind of reminds me of like rushing in like Breath of the Wild, Zelda. Um, and in that rushing stance, that's cool. Like I can understand why you want to have a revolver go like hella fast, but like that's just like rushing in like a Lionel fight with Link. Like it's like cool, but like if you just do it a lot, it gets really boring. And like with Kratos' axe, you can almost never get bored with it because you can just throw it at something and then be like, "Hey, I unlocked this bridge," or "I just killed this boss." Because like there's a lot more like you can like say that there's a lot more MLGs that you can do with like a gun in Red Dead Redemption 2, but I personally feel like the MLGs that you can get in like God of War, not only are they harder to do, like during a boss battle, you try to only use throws or something like that. That sounds more dope to me. Um and like sounds like hey, like I'm trying to go and like kill this box with only axe throws or something like that. That sounds like, hey, that sounds challenging. Meanwhile, in Red Dead, you just use your gun and then you shoot someone, which, hey, you can die, but like I feel like it's a lot less hard. And now I'm going to move on to the bow and arrow part with Atreus. Not only I feel like bow and arrows are better than guns, not in a real life standpoint, but like bows look better than guns, in my opinion, because usually like they're this big piece of wood with like a string on the back, and then you got an arrow. Then Atreus, which is just learning archery in the game, it's really fun just to shoot a bow and arrow because not only it helps you with puzzles and bosses, it feels more like natural than a gun because like a gun is just really fast and it's meant to kill someone.
Yeah,
But
fast
honestly,
paced.
yeah, I get what you mean by like you like the fastness to it, but sometimes like I kind of like how like bows are a little slower. Like not saying that they're slow in God of War, but like just in general, like they're a lot slower. They feel a lot more natural. They feel more like environmentally like cooler. It makes me feel more like lumberjacky, if you get what I mean on that.
Yeah.
And like honestly, the weapons in God of War 2018, they're more like natural lumberjacky. Like they feel more poppy than like a gun, which feels more modern. It feels like just this piece of metal that shoots bullets that are just make a really loud sound. And like, of course, the revolver is the dope one, but every other gun I don't really understand. And even then, a revolver isn't really as cool as an axe or a bow and arrow, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
So I'm actually gonna add on to your bow and arrow and natural environment like feeling, alright?
All right.
So obviously Red Dead Redemption 2 has its fast paced guns,
Yeah.
it has its snipers, it has your average stuff. But since we are still in a Western environment, we still
Yeah.
got our versions of bows, hatchets, axes, knives, whatever you can name.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
So personally, I wasn't a fan favorite of the bows that or of the bow Atreus, really used if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
not
what
a
you
fan
mean.
of how they use the bow. I mean, don't get me wrong. The bow, how they showed the bow, how they used the bow, it was okay. But when I compare it to Red Dead Redemption 2, that's where I fall off of whether it was bad or okay for God of War. And here's why I say that: if you want to, if you want a slower feeling bow and a more natural environment like bow, then you want to go with Red Dead Redemption 2. Completely
Okay.
wooded. It's great for stealth, and it gives you that natural feeling you're looking for. And now with uh the hatches and axes, axe wise, God of War does better.
Of
Hatchet
course it does.
wise, hatchet wise, I feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 looks better, but at the same time, God of War does obviously improve. So I'm gonna have to go half half. I'm gonna agree with you, and I'm not gonna agree with you half half. You know what I mean? On your
Okay.
statement about the bows and the hatchets, but since I'm starting to run out of a few topics because it's been a bit, what would you like to add on to our topics, or well, add
Well,
on to
like,
the topic, its main topic itself, if you know what I mean?
okay. Well, like, what do you mean? Are we gonna talk about other games, or are we gonna?
So I'm suggesting our main topic obviously is should Red Dead Redemption 2 did Red Dead Redemption 2 deserve to win Game of the Year? And I'm just saying, add a little more to that, like what are your personal feelings about that, and what do you like really believe?
Okay, so what I really believe is that God of War, of course, is a good game, and I feel like it did deserve to win Game of the Year. But what I will give to Red Dead Redemption is that it does have a good, like, it's a good game, um, and it's not my favorite game, but like, it's in the general theme of like, I like a little bit of Wild West, but I don't like it as much as more of a like natural, like, I get what you mean by like there's like hunting and stuff like that, and there's knives and there's a couple of bows, but then I said like, yeah, that's like what God of War is mostly about. But like, I feel like God of War brings more of that natural vibe instead of like a gun and like trying to rob this village of some sort. I only say that just because, like, I get what you mean by like the bows might give that more natural, slower pace feel. But like when you shoot Atreus's bow, it's like it feels like to like a 75 to a 25 range. Like the 25 is the bad part about it, but the other part's good. Like
Mhm.
it's fun. Only if that little kid would shut up in the first game, it would be a lot better. But like everything else feels good about that. I feel personally that God of War did deserve to win, but it was a little bit uneven on it. Like Red Dead standed a chance, but just not as much as I feel like you think it did. That's my opinion.
All right, well, I have to say God of War improves on a few things Red Dead Redemption could have done, or Red Dead Redemption 2. But in my personal belief, Red Dead 2 should have easily, or at least it should have been almost a tie, but Red Dead Redemption 2 would have made it over. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean on that, but like I just feel like out of the two games, like God of War is better. But like I don't really know how to add on to that. Like okay, you know what? Let's just say that we are both in disagreement.
We agree but disagree.
Yeah, we can agree on both parts. All right. I think that we should go with one more topic and then we'll just end it off. Um okay. What is your opinion on how Elden Ring and Ragnarok, like we're gonna keep this train going a little bit on the Ragnarok stuff.
Mhm.
How do you feel about Elden Ring winning Game of the Year and Ragnarok not winning Game of the Year?
Well, I feel like we should go deeper into this in the next episode.
Okay,
But
yeah,
for
I
a
got
quick answer,
yeah, let's
I am
go.
going to give. I felt like as though Elden Ring deserved it, even though God of War Ragnarok uh did quite a few things better. I feel, but
Okay.
I'll go into that on the next episode on whether or
Yeah.
not God of War Ragnarok should have won Game of the Year for 2022.
I
But
personally
that's
feel
it.
yeah.
And we'll see everyone in the next episode of TCMR later.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hopefully we'll be able to have one of our other cast members, maybe not. Um and I think yeah, we'll probably have a guest on Thursday. Yeah.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.